Town Clerk, would you like to do your usual introduction and then I'll go to part one?
Certainly. Good afternoon and welcome to this meeting of the Digital Services Committee. My name is Rhys Campbell and I'm clerk to this committee. Please note that this meeting is being live streamed and recorded. A recording of the public meeting shall be available on the City Corporation's website following the end of this meeting for up to 1 civic year. Chairman.
Thank you very much and welcome everybody, particularly to those members here. Item one is apologies. We've had apologies from Deputy Caroline Haynes and Deputy James Thompson. We also know that Philip Kelvin will be a little bit late, but is expected to join us. And we haven't heard from Alderman Russell, but I'm not expecting him as he's not yet here. Now, unusually, I'm going to take the subtitle apologies to start a meeting with apologies, which you shouldn't do, but I'm going to do it anyway. Because I think it's probably helpful for the benefit of all officers present and hopefully for members too. There were 2 late paper requests, members. I refused the first, and I will generally refuse late papers. The second was a clerical error, which just meant it didn't reach the pack in time, and therefore I did allow that as it was information only to be emailed to you on Friday. I hope you got it, but I will generally be quite firm on not taking late papers because I do not want to make it difficult for you to prepare for meetings. We will have a smoother ride next time. Members that have been around a little bit longer will know that we've had a transition on town clerks, and it's great. Rhys is now with us, but his handover notes weren't perfect, so that's the bump in the road with this, but we won't have that problem anymore, and I appreciate all the work he is doing. I had agreed with the director that we will start taking information papers to this committee on the fabulous work that we're doing, because one of the things that you won't appreciate is that I get a weekly update, but the rest of you don't, and I think it would be great to share that. So we've agreed that going forward there'll be a short informational paper just so you're aware of the broader activity of the organisation. My general purpose in all of these opening remarks is to assure members that my approach is that I will be hard on getting the papers out. I will then hope that you have read them and go straight into questions and not have lots of speeches. I will tell you now that because of some concerns that have been raised in relation to item 15, we're going to withdraw that paper. It will come back probably at the next occasion. So with that done, and my apologies over, we move to agenda item 2, members' declarations. Obviously, members, you'll have some standing ones. Any additional declarations on today's agenda? No? Wonderful. We're now speeding up. Item 3, unfortunately, I couldn't be with you in July, but we do have minutes. That's something else that I will be pushing to ensure that draft minutes circulate ideally within 2 weeks of the meeting, so it's reasonably fresh in your mind. Agenda item 3 are the minutes starting on page 5. I will do a quick turn through. Are there any corrections, any errors on page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, and page 10 just as a signature, so I hope there's no problem there. Members, are you happy for me to sign those as a correct record? Thank you very much. If you could ensure that next time I've got a copy to sign. That takes us to agenda item 4, the public switch telephone network for decision. We've been hearing about this for some time for those members that have been around a bit longer. Are there any questions on agenda item 4, members? No? Okay.
So Chair, I had one, which, and apologies, I'm fairly fresh to this, was just around to what extent the use of adapters have been considered. You can get relatively low cost adapters to convert a PSTN device to work on an IP in an IP environment. I didn't see any reference to that, and obviously I know a lot of good work's already been done, but maybe if there are any sort of edge cases or problem cases where things are behind schedule, where the use of little adapters might be a short-term solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, absolutely. We have a total of 706 lines across various things like payment machines, lifts, etc., etc. We are engaging with departments on a case-by-case basis and looking at any simple solutions that are out there. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. So, members, I'm not a big fan of the direction of travel of some of these papers because I think they're getting harder to find the decision. So the decision, not that we have much choice in my opinion, is recommended to us on page 13 in paragraph 4. So getting 3 pages onto a decision, I could ask officers to consider using the usual template so it's easier to spot the decision at the beginning. We are recommended to go for option 1 because quite frankly, we've got to get on with it. Members happy to agree that? Wonderful, thank you very much. That takes us to agenda item 5, which starts on page 25 of your pack. This is the business plan. It's for information. Are there any questions? No? Oh, this is excellent. So that moves us on to agenda item 6, which is on page 31. Now, this is also an informational report. I don't think any of the rest of you have the misfortune to be with me on corporate services, but I did want to make a note here. The chairman of corporate services and the Chamberlain and I were all at their last meeting. Obviously, the impact of Project Sapphire is quite important to the organisation. And they were just looking for making sure we're keeping everyone informed because we sort of have lead for logical reasons, but we've agreed that we'll try and give at least the chair of that committee, I think, a monthly update. And I just wanted to confirm that's been sorted out.
Yes, Chair, it has.
Wonderful. We'll obviously get periodic reports here to the committee members, but I think what would be just very useful is perhaps if you're sending it by email to that chair, perhaps just copy me and then I know what they've heard in case, because they do tend to ask me questions. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. We did have representation on the programme board, and that was me when I was chair. Do we still have representation on that board?
We do.
Right.
Interestingly, the Chamberlain's not here, but the Chamberlain messaged me about the board about a week ago and said there's been some change in members and so on. We should probably look at reconstituting it and checking the membership. And apparently, by dint of me now chairing this, I get to chair that.
Oh, good.
Oh, lucky me. I responded to the Chamberlain and said, yeah, absolutely happy to do that. But if we're looking at working out what the membership should be, can I have a look at the terms of reference and so on and so forth? I have not had an answer. But as soon as I do, we will get back to it.
Just don't want it to go through the cracks.
I hope it won't. I can see Zaki smiling at me.
We'll follow up on that.
Wonderful. And welcome. Yes.
Thank you, Chairman. This is a very important project and one which is absolutely vital and crucial to the organisation. Having read this, having been involved with in other places before, I think it's absolutely vital that we know as a committee how things are progressing. This is a very nice report and tells us that everything is fine and dandy. But do we actually know that as members? The only way to find out is to talk to the people who are actually using the system, because that is the only way you'll find errors and issues. I've sort of tried to skate around the surfaces, and I'm not entirely certain that everything is all right in the state of Denmark, to use a Shakespearean expression. I think we need to make sure that it is being implemented and actioned, and more to the point, it works. If it doesn't work for officers and members of staff, it is a problem. So I would ask, or I would suggest that at a future meeting, we interview, we asked to come along to talk to us about their experiences, about how they are operating the new models of ERP. That's only a suggestion, Chair.
Well, I appreciate the suggestion. I'm now going to tell you what I had already planned, and then I'll take another question. I've already instituted with the Deputy Chairman that there is a short weekly meeting with the two of us, with the Chamberlain, with Zaki, and with other assorted officers that the Chamberlain and Zaki select to help keep us informed more generally. And as you've just heard, we've already made a promise to the corporate services team of sort of a monthly update, and I've just made sure that's in place. So those were what we were already doing, and so that we could ask those kind of questions. I haven't specifically arranged to do interviews of anyone, but now that you've raised it and Zaki's here, I'm going to suggest that we talk about that at next week's meeting and see what we think is the best way, because the only thing I'm concerned about, Tim, is I'm 100% behind effective scrutiny. I've always got to balance how do we do that in terms of the resource if we're taking people out for interviews and so on. So I just want to talk to the other officers before we go further, but perhaps we can make sure, because I can see Reese is typing rapidly, that this is sort of an action arising, that at the next meeting we make sure we update. Yes, you're right.
I was going to ask if there is a plan for kind of regular user surveys, which could be online, which I think is probably a quite effective way to do that. I know a lot of organisations, when they're implementing new systems, will do user surveys online. So I just wondered if there was a plan to do that.
So we have a network of change champions that have been established across the organisation. They are surveyed pretty regularly. And I think there are pulse surveys in terms of how things are going, as well as kind of the more longer form communications with the group as a whole. So I think those are already in place. Simon may have more details on that.
So, as you say, we've also actually got some software built into the solution where we can do those regular performance checks. So we need to wait for the broader user base to be engaged, but we can actually send out surveys to users and get them to respond, just like any service desk tool. So we will put those in place.
So what would be good is that the time we next meet, for officers to be able to update. You can perhaps put it in the informational note that we've been discussing about whether you started doing that or when you will start doing that. That was an information item, members. So that takes us to another information item at agenda 7. The DITS portfolio update starts on page 45. Are there any questions about the information paper? Seeing none, we will move on to agenda item 8 on page 53. Apologies if you've got an agenda item that doesn't list that. I have one that does and one that doesn't, so hopefully you know where it is. Page 53, another informational report. Any questions on this? No? Excellent.
Chair, sorry, I had one question just about the extent to which existing equipment is being upgraded. I know there are pros and cons of doing that versus replacing completely. Thanks.
Please go ahead.
So where possible, we're using existing kit and we're upgrading to Windows 11 on existing kit. There's certain devices that we have which are just out of life and they don't satisfy the minimum requirements for Windows 11. And those are devices that we are essentially giving back to our provider, and then we receive account credit for that we can put forwards to other orders. If something is sufficiently out of date and it can't be reused by our supplier, we're looking at areas that are at risk of digital exclusion, and we're donating our devices to organisations that assist with people at risk of digital exclusion.
Thank you. Then we move to our next informational item, agenda item 8. Are there any questions on the device refresh? Actually, I just done it. Sorry, I've gone backwards. Let's go forwards. Let's go to agenda item 9, which is also for information. That's what's confusing me. Any questions on the digital information service delivery summary? No. Thank you, members. That takes us to agenda item 10, questions on matters relating to the work. I've not been notified of any specific questions outside of the papers. Under item 11, urgent business, nothing in the public section for you. That moves us to agenda item 12. So I move the motion to exclude the public. I ask my deputy chair. Thank you very much. Can we shut down the live stream? Thank you. And now, can you confirm who is in the room that should stay and who should leave?
I recognise everyone in the room, Chair.
That's not quite the same as your